Now we're on Daf Chaf Heyam and Beis. Elavit Tlosa. The chumrah here is that a Jewish woman is not allowed to be alone even with three goyim, whereas a Jewish woman with three Jewish men is allowed. So the Gemara says, wait a minute. It's not always the case that a Jewish woman is allowed to be alone with three men. That's only if they're becheskas ksherim, but if they're prutzim and they're known to be womanizing people, then even with three men, even with 10 men, she's not allowed to be alone if they're all prutzim. And the goyim are becheskas prutzim. So again, this is not a chumrah in goyim. The kavasi gabi yisrael beprutzim mishari. If it would have been an exact parallel case, parallel to a Jewish woman with three goyim, in the case of a Jewish woman with three prutzim, it would also be prohibited. V'atanan, we learned in a Mishnah at the end of Kiddushin. Aval isha achas b'siacheres im shnei anoshim. One woman is allowed to be alone with two men if they're ksherim. Right, there was a woman, I don't know, Rashi says she was a married, I don't know how Rashi knows that, but anyway, there was a Jewish woman who was known to be like a prostitute kind of thing. And the men wanted to have a relationship with her, but they didn't want to do it, in a way that they would. So they made believe that she was dead. They took her body out to the cemetery for burial, these 10 men, and they all had a relationship with her. Why? Because they were prutzim. So you see that even 10 prutzim doesn't make any difference. Like, for example, the poskim say that it could be that to be with a woman on a beach where there's prutzim, it doesn't matter if it's a public beach, but it's all prutzim. Lo tricha bishto imo. What's the chumrah of yichud with a guy? A Jewish woman is not allowed to be with a guy, even if that guy has his wife present. Whereas in Israel, right, because Ovikromen ishto misham rosa, aval Yisrael ishto misham rosa. A Jewish man would be inhibited and deterred by the presence of his wife. He would not even dream of having a relationship with this woman in the presence of his own wife. But in the case of a guy, you know what? She has relationships with other men. He has relationships with others. So the fact that his wife is there is not in any way a deterrent. And therefore, a Jewish woman cannot be alone with a guy, even in the presence of the guy's wife. When I ask the following question, why are you telling me that seclusion with a guy is a problem of, let's call it licentiousness? Forget about that. The guy might kill her. All right, so this is it's a bit of a complicated sugya, but let's just say this. Isha Chashuva is a woman who has connections in the government, the non-Jewish government. She's a Jewish woman, but yet she's considered very respectable in the non-Jewish circles. And therefore, if this guy would murder her, then he would be taken to court and be put to death. Very hard to believe that the guy would put to death a guy that killed a Jewish girl. But anyway, she's an Isha Chashuva. Now, although she's an Isha Chashuva, and therefore there's no chashash of retzach, of murder, but there is a chashash of licentiousness. Now, I'm not sure if this means rape or it means pitui, seduction. Just give me a minute here. I remember this footnote here. Okay. So again, Rabbi Yirmiyah put the emphasis on Isha Chashuva. And apparently, her chashivus is twofold. Number one, she is connected with the government, as we said before. But number two, she's physically attractive. Yeah, I don't know how you define that, but anyway. So this pagan would not kill her or even violate her. So it sounds like we're talking about onus rape. He's afraid of her government connections. But on the other hand, she's physically attractive. So that's working in the opposite direction. And he might be tempted not to rape her, but to try to seduce her. Again, if she wasn't an Isha Chashuv, we'd have to be afraid that he might kill her. So that's Rav Yirmiyah. Now we go on to Rav Idi. Rav Idi Omar Isha Klei Zena Aleha. She, so to speak, carries with her her defense weapons. And therefore, according to Rav Idi, no woman should be concerned that an idolater with whom she's secluded would kill her. She's endowed with a natural protection against murder. And it's presumed that whenever an idol worshiper finds himself alone with a woman, his primary interest would be to engage in illicit relations with her. Once he fulfills his desire, he will spare her life. We know that that's not necessarily true, but anyway. Thus, concern for murder is inapplicable to women, even to those who have no government connection. The Mishnah, therefore, is coming to teach us that all women, regarding all women, seclusion with an idol worship is prohibited because of the concern for licentiousness. So again, according to Avidi, a Jewish man cannot be alone with a non-Jewish man, idolater, because he has to be afraid he'll kill him. But a Jewish woman doesn't have to be afraid that he'll kill her because he wants to have relations with her. And once he does so, he's not going to kill her. My Beinai. So what's an afkamina halacha l'maisa between Rabbi Yirmiyah and Ravidi? Ika Beinayu. Here there's a machlok between Rashi and Tosfos. Rashi might hold as one nafkamina, Tosfos might hold as two nafkaminas, but let's see what we can figure out in the short amount of time we have left. Ika Beinayu, Isha chashuva bein anoshim v'she'ena chashuva bein hanoshim. Okay, so let's see if we can figure out what's going on here. Rabbi Yirmiyah made an unqualified statement that the Mishnah deals with an Isha Chashuva, and she's Chashuva both Bein Anoshim, it wouldn't make any difference according to Rabbi Yirmiyah. She might be connected with the government and physically attractive. There's no concern that the idolater will murder because she's connected to the government. There is a concern that he will try to seduce her since she's attractive. She's chashuva bein anoshim, and therefore the Mishnah forbids seclusion on account of the fact that he may seduce her because she's attractive. Now, if the woman is not attractive, she may be connected to the government, then it's mutter. There's no Isa Yichud. Why? Because there's no chash of murder because she's connected to the government. And there's no chash that he wants to seduce her because she's ugly, if I could use that term. So therefore, we have a heter, a kula, according to Rabbi Yirmiyah, in the case of a woman who's chashiva bein anoshim, meaning government circles, but she doesn't rate, compared to other women in terms of her attract. She's not attractive. Ravidi, on the other hand, said unequivocally, a woman has her defense upon her, meaning she's no chash of murder. But he didn't limit the Mishnah to a case of a woman who's not attractive or a woman who is attractive. Every woman, in other words, even a woman who's ugly, if I can use that term, although she doesn't have to fear murder because she has a natural protection against murder, his interest is womanizing. Once he attains his goal, he'll spare his life. According to Avoda, even an unattractive woman is forbidden to be secluded with an idol worship. So it comes out that Rav Yirmiyah is the Mekil and Rav Edi is the Machmir. Tanya Kavosi Rav Edi Barovin brings support from a brayso to Rav Edi Isha Afal Pi Shashalom Imo Lo Tisyachid Imoem Mipnei Shechashudim Al Arayos. No, Shalom Imo means she won't be killed because the idolater is interested only in seducing her and not killing her. However, Lo Tisyachid Imoem, because of this chashash of arayos, and it's a blanket statement, unqualified, applies even if she's not attractive. Now the Mishnah says, Lo Yisachid Adam Imohem, that a Jewish man is not allowed to be alone with an idolater because we're afraid of murder. Tana Rabbana, we learned in a brayso, Yisrael shen is damilo v'kolchom baderech. What happens if he's on the road and guess what? He encounters an idol worshiper. So now he has to be afraid of murder. So what advice can we give him to protect his life against murder? Toflo liyamino. He should keep the idol worshiper on his right side. Why is that? Because if the idol worshiper makes a move to kill him, he'll be able to restrain him with his right hand. However, Rabbi Shmuel ben Osha, Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka Omer, B'sayev, if the idol worship is equipped with a sword, then Toflo liyamino, the Yisrael should keep him on his right side, which is again what we said before, so that if the Yisrael is on the idol worshipper's left side, then apparently the sword is on the left side, and the idol worshipper is going to have to take his right hand in order to remove the sword from the sheath. And at that moment, the Yisrael, since he's right there on the right side, he can immediately stop the sword from being pulled out. But b'makel, if on the other hand, the idol worship is equipped with a staff, then just the opposite. Toflo lismolo. Right? The Yisrael should be near the idolater's right hand. That means he should be on that side. Because the idol worship is carrying the staff in his right side. It's not like a sword where he has to go towards his left and pull it out. And this enables the Yisrael to grab hold of the staff with his left hand should the idolater raise it against him. If, on the other hand, the Israelite would be kept on the idolater, would keep the idolater on his right side, meaning he's on the left, then the raised staff would be too far away for him to reach, right? Because He's got to reach the staff. He's on this side. He's got to stretch all the way over to reach the staff and prevent him from killing him. Next, the Brisa says, "Are you olim b'mala o yordim b'yariah?" Let's say they're either climbing up or descending down. So one of them is walking in front of the other. Lo ye Yisrael lamata v'yovikel lamala. Make sure that the Yisrael is not, with his back to the Akum is up on top, because he won't know if the Akum is going to kill him. El Yisrael lamala. Make sure that you're on top as you go down, or below the Akum as you go up. Yisrael lamala v'yovikel lamata v'al yashoach lefonim. Never bow down in front of a guy. Shema Yorotz Eskul Golo. The idol worship will smash his skull. So in other words, even if they're walking on the level ground, and you drop something on the floor and you want to bow down and the Akum is there, you don't know what's going to happen while you're bowing down. Shola lehechan holech. Now you have to trick the idol worship. He's asking you where you're going, because he wants to accompany you and kill you. Yarchiv lo saderech. Tell him that you're going very, very far. We're going to learn this from Esau, from Yaakov and Esau. Because apparently the guy is not willing to, travel that far. Kiderech she'asa Yaakov Avinu li'Esau shenemar ad asher avol Adoni se'ira. Implying him to Esav that he's going all the way to Sair. So, you want to accompany me to Sair? Sair is Saudi Arabia, all the way on the other side of the globe. But really, in truth, Yaakov was only going to Sukkosa. Uksiv Yaakov Nasa Sukkosa. Now, we're going to see that the Talmidim of various Chachamim gave eitzes to Jews in order to protect them from murders and robbers and so forth and so on. And these robbers figured it out. They're on the way traveling to Keziv. Paguba and Listim. Now, Listim are very dangerous. They're bandits. So Rabbi Akiva had already pumped them up beforehand that if the bandits are asking where you're going to, we're going all the way to Akko, which is way beyond Kzit. So the Goyim said, all right, what are we going to do? We'll accompany them on their way to Akko, and then we'll kill them. But when they got to Kziv, which is much closer than Akko, they dropped away. They turned away. Who taught you this? The bandits themselves were intuitively sensitive that somebody tipped them off. We are disciples of Rabbi Akiva. We have a similar story. Rabbi Menashe Havi Ozil Lebei Torisa. So he was on the way to a place called Beit Torah, which was not that far. Pogubo Ganve, and then the robbers encountered him. Amalei Lon Kazlis. Amalem Lefupedisa. We're going all the way to Pupadisa. Kimato Lebeit Torisa Parish. When they got to their true destination, they left. They checked out. Amrulei. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't kill him on the spot, but anyway, Talmidei de Yehuda Ramat, are you deceivers like this Rabbi Yehuda? Amalahem Yodisule, you know Rabbi Yehuda, and you know that he's a tricky person. Ye Rava de Lehevi Hanach Inshi V'Shamta. May it be the will of God that those men, your robbers, will be under Shamta. Shamta is a kind of an excommunication or a curse. Ozul Avdu Gnevasa Esrim V'Tartin Shnin V'Lo Atzlichu. For 22 years, the robbers engaged in robbery and they were not successful. Kavan the Chazu, they began to appreciate the impact of the curse that was, the whammy that was put upon them by Rabbi Yehuda. Asu kula tavu sham tayu. The entire group, except for one, came to Rabbi Yehuda to ask him, please, we're going to do tshuva, please dissolve this curse. But Havi Bachad Girdana, there was one weaver, Velo Asal Ishruya Yamta, he didn't bother, he didn't believe in the whole story, so he didn't bother coming to get a heter on the Shamta, to write a dissolution, and Achleri was swallowed up by an Ari. Hainu Diamri Inshi, this is the phrase that's very common, Girdana Delotayizanon Shata B'tzir Mishneh. The weaver who is not humble, meaning he thinks, oh, I'm great, I don't have to worry about this curse. His years are diminished. Tochazi ma ben ganve Bavel velistim the Eretz Yisrael. See the difference between the robbers of Bavel and the robbers of Eretz Yisrael. In the first incident, the bandits who were outwitted by Rabbi Akiva's disciples as they traveled in Eretz Yisrael praised Rabbi Akiva and his disciples for their wisdom. In the second incident, by contrast, the robbers who were outwitted by Rabbi Menashe as he traveled in Bavel had the audacity to disparage the great sage Rabbi Yehuda. Thus, even the violent criminals in Eretz Yisrael were more deferential to Torah scholars than the ordinary felons in Bavel, indicative of Eretz Yisrael's general superiority over Bavel. Okay, this is where we'll stop, have a meaningful fast, and a mitzvah tomorrow, regular time.